Hi guys, welcome to my very first ever YouTube video. Woohoo! I'm so excited to be here with you today. I'm going to make two really cute cards today that I made. They are super simple, easy for mass production, and I used supplies that I found in my scrap pile. I'm so excited. So we're going to scrap our stash today by using stuff we found in our scrap pile, and I'm going to bring to you a couple of other cute tidbits to make mass production very easy. So what I did was I just pulled some things that I found in my, I have a little cup that has all these die cuts in it. So a little bin with die cuts, and, went through it, found what I had the most of, decided to make a couple of really cute cards, and I'm going to take you along the journey. So right now I'm starting off by making some card bases, and I'm scoring all of my cardstock at 5.5. I'm going to cut them at 4 1/4. This is Neenah Solar White, Neenah Cream, and a pink that I don't know the name of. And it's all 80-pound cover stock weight, which I don't particularly know the GSM right offhand, but I will look for it and put it in the description below. Anyway, so I scored my cardstock at 5.5, and I'm going to cut my cardstock at 4 1/4, and it's going to make 8 top folding card bases in less than 2 minutes. Easy peasy pudding and pie. Here we go. All right. So then we're going to move on once we get all of our score lines folded, and I'm scoring away from my score line. And today I'm using a Score Pal. I have other scoreboards in my stash. You may see those in other videos. For now, we're just using a Score Pal. And we're going to start with our supply stash. This first card, I'm just going to show you. When I first made it, I used craft embellishments that I found in my stash. But as I decided to mass produce it, I cut out some other embellishments that I used, and I went with brown so that I didn't have to color the craft cardstock brown. Very simple. It's just a little shortcut. I'm going to show you how to make this card. It's very easy to do. We're going to put this together. It's going to be very cute. I use these circles, and the pieces that I die cut those circles from, I'm actually going to use as the background to our card, our first card. Alrighty? So let's put that first card together. It's very simple. We're going to start with the card, the background that I made. I made a whole bunch of embossed backgrounds, and this is just a honeycomb background. It's very simple. I grabbed a floral stamp and fossilized amber distress ink, not distress oxide, just regular distressed ink. And I'm just randomly putting some flowers all over this background paper. And it's just embossed with a honeycomb embossing folder, which I loved a lot. I will tell you though, if I did this over again, I would cut my cardstock first and then stamp it. I didn't think about cutting it initially. I just was thinking about creating some backgrounds. And then I realized my cardstock itself was initially 4 1/4 by 5.5. And then when you emboss it, it sort of changes the size a little bit. So I'm going to, after I stamp everything, I'm going to go in and I'm going to cut my cardstock just about a 1/2 inch, because I decided I wanted to, have a little bit different look to this particular card. And then you'll see me go in and re-stamp a couple of the edges just to get that random look. Now, adding some stamping off of the edge of your card really gives it a nice flow. You'll notice in my original cards, there was some light yellow and some darker, sort of a burnt yellow. I went with the burnt yellow because it was what was in my stash. I'm trying not to cut any other original cardstock. I want to just use up what I have in my stash. And that's the beauty of mass production. If you're not making a specific card for anybody in particular, like if you're not making a stash of wedding cards or a stash of whatever. Just back to the card really quick. I did smush some ink over these because I wanted it to be a little blotchy. And while they're wet, I'm going to stamp them with a honeycomb, and just to make it a nice little background that is sort of blotchy. I don't know. I kind of liked it. Anyway, what I was saying is if you're mass producing cards and you don't have to make them for anybody in particular, you're just trying to restock your stash, or you're just starting out and you just want to build your stash, I recommend just going through your scraps and picking out similar colors. It doesn't have to be the same. If I didn't have either of these yellows, I might use a craft or a light brown or something like that, and sort of just adjust the card to what I have in my scraps so I can use them up. And then I'm just adding some adhesive to that background. I'm going to put it on top of one of those brown panels. I decided to color in my bee at the last minute, and I didn't mention this. I did die cut some bees off camera. I thought take video of that, but the camera was not rolling. I didn't want to have to remake those bees, so I'm just adding some color. That first one was, they were all Copic markers, and I didn't, for whatever reason, show the first marker on camera. I don't know. I'm still learning how to edit and take care of all that. Anyway, YR12 was the first, and then I'm adding some adhesive to that background. Now we're putting it on our cardstock, and I just found it easier to push that cardstock all the way up at the edge of our scoreboard so that it can be a nice flush edge together. And you'll see me try to do that again with the cardstock, but it's just too thick, so I have to take the cutting mat out. And then I can do the same thing that I did, push that all the way against the edge. Gives us a nice flush edge right at the top, and everything is lined up. Then I'm going to go ahead and add my pieces. I added a strip of red so that I can get a nice little pop to my card. It was very monochromatic with the browns and the yellows, and I wanted just something to sort of come out at my card. And then after I did all that, I decided to add the pop of red as a heart as well, just to have it all matched together. All right, I'm just adding some adhesive to all of my pieces, putting them on. I do pop up the heart to give it some flair, and I do pop up the bee to give it some flair. Bee cards are very popular right now, I think because we're getting ready to come into springtime. Some areas are a little chilly, some areas are a little warm. I'm over here in San Diego. Today it's about 80 degrees. Oh, sorry, there goes my dog. You can hear him in the background. I apologize. All right, so I'm adding some brown cardstock embellishments to this card, and I loved the way it popped. Initially, I used craft cardstock on the first card, but it didn't quite pop for me. I had to color it brown, and that was just another step, and I'm trying to mass produce cards. And here I was just showing you the background, the embossed background with the stamped floral. I just really love the way it turned out. I'm adding some foam adhesive to my heart and my bee. I made sure to add not just on the bee body, but I also added foam adhesive to the wings so they didn't get crushed inward or moved or whatever, bent. And then I'm going to go ahead and finish up the card by just adhering all the pieces together. You could always add a really cute sentiment with this one, something that says, "You're beautiful," or "Be kind," or "Be sweet." I don't know. Anyway, I'll have to think about that one. So I made 4 cards with this design, and I loved how it turned out. All right, we're going to start off our next card, and this is just a very simple design. The brown circle with a branch that's popped up. The hello friend I found in my stash of things that I had made before. And what I do is I will, if I'm stamping a sentiment for one card, I might stamp that sentiment 5 or 6 times so that if I decide I want to use it for something else, it's already available. You know, if you're stamping once, stamp several. If you're making one card for a friend specifically and you've decided on a design you really like, make several. And that way, you always have those pieces to fall back on if you need to come up with a card very quickly. And I'm using, the background for this card is actually it's like a wood grain design, and I decided to cut mine down about a ½ inch. Now, I didn't put together all of these cards on camera, but you'll see at the end, I took pictures. There's a couple of different styles. This one I'm going to use the green instead of the blue. I know in the initial card that you saw the green. I didn't have a lot of blue in my craft stash in my scrap pile, so I went with the blue, and I went with the green. And then this green that I used for the branch and the frame is a little bit lighter than the green that I'm going to use for the flag on my card, the banner. And I'm just adding, I'm showing you how I'm putting this together. I added a little bit of adhesive on the 2 front leaves and then the back of the branch. And I realized on the back of the branch it wasn't quite enough. So I'm adding a little bit more. I'm just showing you, adding a little bit more adhesive and putting that together. And then I'm going to cut that little tail off from the branch. I'm going to add this. I'm going to put just little dots of adhesive all over my little leaves and around the circle. I'm going to add it to that brown circle. And then we're going to pop that up using foam adhesive. I found this foam, I don't know if I mentioned it before, but I found this foam at Dollar Tree, of all things. I love it. It comes in a 3-pack. Okay, here we go. And I was trying to decide whether I wanted it to go up or down or sideways or, however way you want that branch. And then I'm just showing you here. I made another flag. It's very simple. You just cut right up into the middle and then cut up into your sections. And I'm going to add that to one side of my card base. And I was paying attention. There's a little knot in the side of my embossed panel. So I wanted to make sure that that was visible. If I put the knot on the bottom, the sentiment would go over it. It wouldn't be as visible. And I really wanted it to be visible. And like I said, I'm just adding some foam adhesive to my circle. Easy peasy pudding and pie. And I'm just looking at the direction that I wanted my branch to go, adding that to my card, adding some adhesive. And just as I had done before, I'm just adding that to my card base. I like cards that are framed, but I also like cards that go all the way to the top and bottom with a little frame on each side. It just adds a little something extra. And you'll notice I didn't quite cut all of my green off the top, so I had to make sure that was done. Adding some adhesive to my sentiment. I could have put it on foam tape, but then in the end I decided to go ahead and add it flat to my card. Very simple card. Super easy to mass produce. And then I decided it needed a little something extra, so I added some gems. I thought maybe green at first, and then I decided to go with like a peach color, something to go nice with that craft cardstock in the background. And then I'm using a pickup tool, which is great for embellishments. It's got putty in the tip and a little piece that comes out in the back. There's lots of companies that make this cute little pickup tool, but it makes it easier for putting your gems and embellishments on. You can use it with, darker like cardstock, little tiny embellishments, or just your little gems. You have something a little too small to use your fingers. And I just added it to my cardstock. That one was made by Silhouette. Here's another cool little tidbit for your die cuts. Are you having trouble getting them out of your cardstock? Try a piece of plastic. You're like, what? Piece of plastic? Yes. So I'm not sure who shared this with me initially, but it's just a piece of plastic, like from a Ziploc bag or grocery store bag, something like that, right? And it's your base plate, your plastic, your cardstock, your die face down, and then top plate and run it through your die cut machine. And out comes a very nice, very clean die from not just one piece of cardstock, but 2 pieces of cardstock. What? Yay! Yay! All right, here are my cards for today. We have the blue and green branch cards. We have the beautiful cards. Aren't they wonderful? I love them. All right. Thank you so much for checking out my new YouTube channel. I'm so glad that you stopped by and hung out with me today. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. Also, don't forget to subscribe. Thank you. Have a great day.